Good morning. Tuesday, December the whatever. At any rate, we had a good storm. The creek actually ran in back of the house. After 2 years, there was a little flow in it. It only lasted for a while, but it's not running anymore. But it's encouraging. Of course, most of you know that Leroy, my good friend, Leroy Rudanovich, passed away a couple of days ago. He stopped breathing in the middle of the night. He was pushing 90 as I'm pushing 80. He reminded me of that pretty regularly. It's always difficult when you lose a good friend. That transition. The last few weeks of Leroy's life were very uncomfortable. And he felt that he was ready. And I'm struggling with this. I've lost some really close friends over the past years. Ed Eubner, Marguerite Campbell, John Bruce. It doesn't get any easier. So, thinking of Leroy's legacy, what will he be remembered for? His art. He was a very accomplished photographer. His study of photography and the history of photography, particularly in Mariposa, his study in history, he read extensively on the grant. He came up with some documents, the old management documents from the Mariposa grant, and was very intimate with how the grant was managed or mismanaged, as it were, and the players. When I would visit him, and I visited him regularly, at least a couple of times a week, the conversation always drifted over to a family. A person who lived here, did this, was married to this person, went to this school. He knew the details on many of the families in Mariposa. And of course, when I'm interviewing historical family members, people with deep roots in this community, Leroy would always fill me in with some details about their connections. And the old-timers, there is a strong web of connections between these people. And he made me feel like what I was doing was valuable. building a record. You know, future generations are going to miss these people, and not being able to hear their stories or have visited with them. But I've, in the past few years, managed to capture some of these people on film, in video, live action, hear their voices, let them tell their stories themselves. There's some interesting traditions in history. Some cultures don't have a written tradition, and their only history is communicated with verbally. And most cultures have that verbal history that passes from generation to generation. I know I heard all these stories about my great-grandfather and his adventures in early California. Some of the stories differ depending on who they come from, but over time, I guess they get interpreted. But at any rate, Leroy was able to mix the verbal and the written history, the nonverbal history, and give it a depth and a dimension. Some historians I know completely discount the verbal side. Stories and lore that are passed down. Anyway, passing on the future, Leroy has occupied a significant place in my life, influenced my life in many ways, and I have some wonderful moments that I remember with he and Ellie, his wife, who was a first female postmaster in Mariposa County. She was a postmaster in Hornitos, and she loved to tell me about that. At any rate, I'm wrestling with Leroy's passing, and I won't call it my loss. It's the loss of everybody in this community. But it's a natural process. We all die, I guess. And you guys take care. You know, one of the lessons that I learned from this is that every time it happens, every time I lose a close friend, it reminds me of the friends that I have left, and pay attention to them. Be considerate of people. They may become close friends. You never know. Life has many twists and turns. Leroy led a good life. And if you're watching me right now, my old friend, you be good, be careful, and you and Ellie enjoy yourself. Goodbye. And the rest of you, goodbye. Bye-bye.